Hello, and welcome to a brand new episode of John the PM Podcast, where we believe that managing projects is not just a job, but a way of life. Today's episode, I'd like to talk just for a few minutes about mentors and mentorship, on those areas. By definition, a mentor is an experienced and trusted advisor. Experience. In other words, they have done it before. They know the path. They've seen the trials. They've seen the tribulations. They've seen the highs and the lows. And they know what to expect. They sort of kind of know what you're going to do before you actually do it on those areas. Trusted. What does that mean? There's a trust relationship. In other words, I believe in you, you believe in me on those areas. In my traditional PMP classes, project management professional classes, as well as all the other classes that we do on those areas, I always reiterate to my folks, to my students, my participants, that they are leaders. And as a leader, you must mentor. That is not only your job, your responsibility, it is your obligation and privilege to do such. We should not be afraid to make kings and queens of our people. That is the goal, in this life, in this journey that we are in. So when I say mentor, what I do not mean is managing like the day-to-day, but really life. Really the more strategic side of it. I want to take a family analogy here. Take a family analogy. A mother, father, they are a parent to a child. Mom and dad, they're responsible for the feeding, the caring, making sure that their shoes on their feet, clothes on their back, food on the table, roof over their heads, all the day-to-day type work on those areas. Then enters grandma and grandpa. Grandma and grandpa, they're not necessarily there to feed and take care of the child. They believe in their child. That's for sure, their grandchildren. So there's no issues or concerns about that. However, what they are also deeply concerned about is making sure that the child, their grandchild, is going to have a successful life. And so they provide sage thoughts. If the grandchild accepts it, awesome. If not, eventually, the grandchild will realize that grandma and grandpa may have had a point. This is an important relationship because, most of the time, children don't necessarily pay attention to their parents. Normally, they kind of pay attention to their aunts, uncles, anybody but their parents on that regards. So that's why from a family setting that you strategically place certain people in your child's life. If you don't have grandparents, if you're not as blessed, perhaps aunts, uncles, close friends, someone who kind of believes in the same way as you, but but they will send a message that you would so endear. Same thing in the workplace, just to be quite frank. You have your operations manager, you have your direct charges, and there is a day-to-day obligation, his responsibility to coach that individual, to train that individual in certain skill sets. So there's no questions about that. However, sometimes for the mentor part, it is helpful if it's outside of their immediate circle, but somebody who can kind of like step back and help guide this person through their career. That is what is kind of sort of key in this whole discussion on this area. Now, there's two types of mentorships. There's a traditional, and this is where the more experienced, and usually experience in this case, we're defining by age, the more aged matriarch provides sage advice and guidance, to the younger folks on those areas. On a personal basis, I have been the recipient of some awesome individuals on that type of a mentorship. They taught me a great deal about how to work with families and business and to make them both coincide together. on those areas. They taught me a lot about how to run a business, how to teach, how to demonstrate, all of those areas. And here's the funny part about it. I'm not exactly even sure if they knew what the impact was. Now, wait a second. Now, I could have actually gotten more out of it if I had mentioned it. Hold that thought for just a moment. The second type of mentorship is that sometimes we'll call it the reverse mentor. A lot of times this is seen where you have the younger generation by age mentor the older ones. Most of the time it's going to be a technology, how to work those iPhones, Androids, something of that nature, on those areas. And that can be incredibly invaluable. Why? For a couple of reasons. One is that the younger folks, they gain confidence in their skill sets and in their own training and development. So they actually receive a lot more than the older ones by age, on those areas. But I like to kind of take all that off the table and bring up a couple of points here. One, I wouldn't necessarily think of it in terms of age. I would think of it in terms of experience. Has this person actually done it before? Has this person gone through the trials and tribulations that you believe, and actually you may not even know, but that you believe that you're going to go through? I would like for you to think of the mentor as that. Not in terms of age, but really experience. And if you open up your mind towards that, perhaps, then you kind of realize that anyone can really be a mentor. So that kind of leads into the question, how should you mentor? This is just a real quick interruption here. I know that you're enjoying yourself on that fascinating show in the world of managing projects, but just wanted to let you know that we do have books on sale, and this particular one is called The Project Manager's Quick Start Guide. I think it is an outstanding read. Why? Because, well, I wrote it. But on a serious note, it is really meant for those who are brand new in the world of managing projects, or let's say that you're mentoring a young individual, a young go-getter, and they have the very, very first project and you want to set them up for success. This is the book for you. Down in the description notes, you can go ahead and order at your will. Thank you. Have an awesome day. Well, the first issue is as the mentor, I would not force myself upon the individual. Let's go back to that child analogy I was using. I wouldn't necessarily go up to the child and say, I'm going to be your mentor and this is what's going to happen. Probably not. Sometimes a better way is when the child asks for help. In other words, they give me a call and say, hey, Unc, I got a problem. Boom. I react. I provide some thoughts, some guidance. And of course, I tell them based on my experiences and things of that nature. Kind of the same thing out in the workplace. I'm not saying it could not work, but generally speaking, the mentor waits for people to come to them, on those areas. And then when they are approached, they jump on it. They're there for you on those areas. Let's flip the script a little bit. Let's talk about the mentee, the one who is seeking the advice, the sage advice, the guidance on those areas. You ask a person, hey, can you help me out? Honestly, there are very few times, I can think of actually 3 or 4 times when I asked for help and the individuals just quite frankly didn't, or when they did, it was so far gone that, the time had passed. But out of that, maybe 97 other times, in other words, the vast majority, if I ever ask for help, people generally, will stay, I could probably help you on those. Now, keep in mind, they may actually not be able to help because they may not actually know the situation, in those areas. So, have some grace in those regards. But generally speaking, raise your hand and say, I need help. What are your thoughts on this? Give them a general scenario. Most of the time, they will provide and kind of back you off like, that's a little bit too much detail, or I need a little bit more context, or whatever, on those areas. The more experienced ones, honestly, they'll let you talk for a few minutes because sometimes that's to let you just catharsize, and that can be helpful. So therefore, they're just a listening board. Other times, they know and have seen this picture, and they say, well, you better do A, B, C, and this is probably what's going to happen, in that regards. So that's awesome. So 1, ask for help. 2, when you receive the help, do something. Do it. and tell the person that you did it. Wow. Think about this for a moment. Somebody asks you for help. Okay. Hey, have you tried this? Try this for an example, whatever. And then they come back to you in about a month and they say, hey, I tried what you did and it worked out pretty well. And I appreciate it. First off, as a mentor, you're like, whoa, hey, I did something. That's awesome. And then the next time that person asks, you're probably going to give a little bit more of yourself. So mentees, when the mentor takes time out of their busy schedule, and they are busy doing whatever it is, but they are busy, take a few minutes afterwards and let them know what happened on those areas. Good, bad, or indifferent, on those sides. Take 100% ownership for the outcome, for sure, but let them know. And then let the relationship grow over time. That kind of leads me into my third point here, and this is the time sequence. Some mentors are there for a season, meaning 5 minutes. Others are there for a year. Some are there for a decade, whatever, on those aside. And then sometimes, as the old adage becomes, the apprentice becomes the master, on that. And then too much was given to you. You are now responsible for giving to others, as you continue down your journey. So, just to kind of wrap it up, one of the things that we do within our group and our organization is that we look at ourselves as the mentors. We look at ourselves as the sage. We have done what you have done. We know, we kind of have a pretty good idea, on those areas. If we don't, we're just going to tell you. But if we do on those, and we're here to help you through your journey, whether that's the PMP or having an awesome career, on those areas, whatever may be the case. So, I'd just like to let you know, really appreciate you joining in. If you're looking for more information on how to become a great project manager, don't forget to hit that like button and be sure to subscribe to John the PM.